form,
Yes.
making sure that the voices of 3.3 million African Americans are heard under the Gold Dome.
Yes.
And most importantly, making sure we push forward for civil rights and social justice in the state. Those are the areas where we are attacking, and we have already had major victories. Of course, you saw the turnout in the runoff election, galvanized by many of the branches of the NAACP to get out 1.9 million voters, to make sure we vote progressively. But we also yesterday stood on the steps of the Fulton County Courthouse to announce the indictment of a police officer in a case that the Georgia NAACP and Atlanta NAACP have been spearheading for 3.5 years, and that's the Jimmy Atchison case. So
the officer, what is his name?
His name is Sung Kim. Sung Kim.
And let's go over the facts of this case real quick.
We got the lawyer here.
Because let's go over the details. Because this case is several years old. They filed a civil suit in 2020.
Yes.
And
this case was really over a so-called stolen cell phone. So give us.
Hold on. Wait a minute. So, I remember help me refresh my memory if I don't know the facts.
Okay, January.
They came into Allen Temple, yes?
Yes.
They had a task force, yes?
Federal task force.
They had a federal task force.
Yes. Right.
And they had armed to the teeth law enforcement, right?
Yes.
And that was a lot of resources that they brought, right? Now tell me what's the crime that they accused him of committing. He murdered who?
Nobody.
He allegedly stole a cell phone from somebody, and it turned out later that he never stole the cell phone.
So, hold on, sir. I'm trying to make sure I understand what this case is about. The case against this young man, they brought 10 carloads of police.
Federal law enforcement.
With the federal law enforcement, you gotta tell me that he was on the loose for multiple killings.
No.
He was on the loose for a killing that they discovered he was the murderer.
No.
He was on the loose for kidnapping somebody.
No.
Then what the hell was the federal government and this task force put together for some damn... We not talking about no cell phone.
Well, see,
that's not what we talking about.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
We're talking about a cell phone.
Here's what happens.
We talking about a cell phone for real?
We're talking about a cell phone.
Cell phone. We talking about police now make about $50 an hour, and federal law enforcement make more money than them.
Yeah.
And as a taxpayer, I want you to knock down doors for the murderer, or somebody that's trafficking children, or somebody out here that's raping women and taking their lives. You tell me that my tax dollars are being used to hunt down somebody accused of stealing a goddamn cell phone?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying.
Wow.
So what happened January 22nd,
okay, please.
Jimmy was at his baby mother's house.
Yes.
There had been a warrant secured for the alleged theft of a cell phone. They said that it was done with a gun. And so the federal task force was tasked with going and making the arrest. This happens all the time in Atlanta for major felony accusations. So they federalized the police department, and they went into Allen Temple.
Right.
So they knocked on his baby mother's door. Ultimately, he jumped out of a third-story window, went on the run to the candy lady's house, and gave up at the candy lady's house. And as he was coming out from the closet and surrounded by these federal task force officers and an Atlanta police officer, Sung Kim, he was shot in his face as he was surrendering unarmed. And so the reason why most of Atlanta and the rest of the country didn't know about this case is because it was about a week before the Super Bowl in Atlanta.
Right.
And there was a kibosh placed on any media reports of any police brutality.
Right.
There were actually two killings. One was Jimmy Atchison and the other was Gerald Griggs.
Right.
But no one found out about any of this until after the Super Bowl.
Right.
We at the Georgia NAACP and Atlanta NAACP were contacted on January the 23rd. We went out to the scene, walked the scene with his lawyers, with his family, and realized an execution had happened. But the previous administration who shall remain nameless,
Mm-hmm.
did not want that information out. And so the family has been fighting for 3.5 years to get.
Who was the DA during that time?
The DA was Paul
Paul
Howard.
Howard at that time.
Okay. Then Paul tried to get some goon?
Yes.
Son Kim.
Some Kim.
He tried to get information from the
The
federal
task
task force.
He had to sue them, didn't
He
he?
did have to sue them to get the information. And so it was a long, protracted legal battle.
Right.
And ultimately, the current administration from Fonnie Willis's office presented it to a grand jury over the last 3 days. And 2 indictments were secured.
Okay.
One for felony murder and the other one for involuntary manslaughter and violation of oath of office.
Right.
Okay.
So
So the jury did what the grand jury did what they were supposed to.
Absolutely. And so now trial jury has to.
Now trial jury has to, but remember, the last time we got an indictment from a police officer, what happened?
Last time we got an indictment on a federal task force officer,
Yes.
it was removed to federal court.
Come on.
So what we have is a current administration, I'm talking about federal administration, that needs to take a stronger look at police brutality, because it's one thing to talk the talk, it's another thing to walk the walk and hold police officers accountable. We are thankful to the Fulton County District Attorney for presenting this to the grand jury. We're thankful for the family for persevering all these years. We're thankful for the current mayoral administration for taking serious police brutality. But we need more than just indictments. We need convictions.
Right. And I agree, you know, and this is so sad because he leaves behind 2 small children.
Yes.
Nobody ever talk about like the people that are left behind. You got parents. I think the father spoke. You guys helped.
Yeah.